Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?
Hey, everyone in, let's go. Huddle up on 3. 1, 2, 3, huddle up.
No one, and I mean no one, comes into our house and pushes us around. This is your game now, gentlemen.
Russian 3, dropping 8. Uyangalele steps up, loads and throws. It's caught. It's pitched backwards, up in the air. It's on the ground, still in Clemson's hands. And now it is down. It is over. And the Irish have knocked off number 1 Clemson.
Fans on their feet. Rally towels are being waved. Brad Lidge stretches. The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Eller for the draw. And as the puck drops, the words that DC fans have been waiting to hear since 1974, the Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions.
And now, welcome everyone to the Huddle Up Podcast.
We're not going to be fucking sucked this year. We're the Stanley Cup champions. Yeah!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Huddle Up Podcast. We are live here on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We hope you are having a great week so far. It is Tuesday, November the 17th, 2020. We got tons to talk about this week, including a crossroads in Ann Arbor, mediocrity in the NFL, and football's big games. Make sure you follow us on social media at Huddle Up Podcast on Facebook and Twitter, at Huddle Up Pod on Instagram. If you go to any of our social media pages, just find the link tree, and you'll get everything you need to know. Make sure you're following along with our home network, NGSC Sports at ngscsports.com, as well as Leap Sports, where we stream daily. That would be LEEIB Sports.com. And we have Sean with us again this week. Matt is back with us. No Dave this week. We hope Dave is doing well, and we'll get him back on as soon as his schedule opens up a little bit more for us. So, Sean, we'll start with you.
How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Hey, a little sound effect there. That's nice. Doing great. Nice cold front here in Florida. Very, very enjoyable. Not quite as cold as the whatever regular front you guys have up there. We're in the 60s right now, but I'll take it. I can breathe outdoors, which is wonderful. And I just want to start off the show before we get into any NFL, anything else. Want to take an early chance to congratulate Alex Smith on his first start back in the NFL in about 2 years, putting up no touchdowns this week, but a pretty impressive 390 yards on 55 pass attempts. Hopefully not the norm if you've handed your team over to Alex Smith.
Sure.
55 seems a skosh closer to his age than what you want him to be throwing. So, but great job for him. And let's have a good show.
Absolutely. And Matt.
How you doing?
Doing well. Notre Dame came back and win. I'm sure we'll talk about that. So nerve-wracking Saturday for a little bit, but it's all good. And they have the week off, so I don't have to stress.
Exactly. They give us a week off before their final three, and let us not forget that their next game actually comes on Black Friday. So Don't expect a Saturday game next week. But we will be on the air next week since it's Thanksgiving week, but we're on a Tuesday, so shouldn't have any issues there. We'll be talking about those games. But yeah, definitely big ups to Alex Smith for getting that start. Comeback player of the year. I don't think there's any question on who that end of the year award should go to. I feel like they could probably rename the award after Alex Smith at this point. But we'll talk about the NFL in just a little bit. Sean and I last week, if you're following along with us in live video, interact with us, and we'll react to you as well. But last week, Sean, we had talked about James Franklin at Penn State and Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Now, one of the questions we had asked was if both of these teams lose, where are the teams going to be at? They did both lose. I can tell you for a fact that a lot of friends up here that are Penn State fans are none too happy with James Franklin at this point. But the one I want to talk about more is coming out of last week is Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, because like Penn State, yeah, they went down, they started mounting a comeback, wasn't able to finish it off. But the Michigan Wolverines, it's not only that they're losing, and it's not even necessarily how they're losing, but they're historically they are losing in ways that have never happened before. The worst point deficit in the history of the Big House, and things like that. One of the worst losses to Michigan State in a number of years. So, I don't know. I think he gets to the end of the year, guys. I think because right now with everything going on, I don't know necessarily what firing a coach in midseason does. I also think because he's a Michigan man, I kind of compared it. And you guys totally understand this, being Notre Dame fans, the final year of Charlie Weiss at Notre Dame. The writing was on the wall. I think that was the year they went 3-9. I think we all knew, like, this is it. But they gave him the benefit of the doubt to finish out the regular season. And I feel like that may be where we're getting with Harbaugh. I don't know what the answer is. This felt that back at the time he got hired, it kind of felt like this is kind of, the savior riding in on the white horse. And 6 years later, it just seems to be getting worse. And Matt, we'll tip it to you first. Like, what does Michigan do? I don't know where they can go from here. It's been a long time since Michigan's felt like Michigan.
I mean, on a list of things that Matt loves to see, Michigan losing big is close to the top. So I'm not going to complain about any of this, and they can keep Harbaugh around as long as they would like to. But at the end of the day, I feel like it has to come down to coaching. Like, when you see the amount of NFL talent Michigan's produced the last few seasons, it's not for lack of talent that Michigan's not getting it done. Granted, the quarterback position was kind of up and down, but still, I mean, to have the level of talent that they've had, you have to expect some sort of success, and they just haven't gotten it done for whatever reason. So I don't think they fire him midseason. I mean, Big Ten plays 7 games this year. So, yeah, I mean, to cut him loose at this point, I think would just kind of be unnecessary, unless there's just they are planning to promote from within and they want to see what someone they have on their current staff can do in a shortened season and see if they can build some momentum. But I think with a school like Michigan, they have to kind of make a splash higher, especially coming off of one that they've already had. So I don't think they promote internally. So I think Harbaugh rides it out, and then they just kind of see what they can do, maybe poach someone from an NFL level, or see if they can just hire a sexy name from a smaller school if they can. But I don't know that Michigan kind of has the legs right now. They're not the prestigious program that we've come to think of them as these last few seasons, despite the fact they just drubbed Notre Dame not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, that was last year, right? Was that that was the last time Notre Dame lost in the regular season? So it's right. I've seen these stats of the difference record wise between the two programs, and it's astounding to see where the two have gone. Sean, your thoughts? I mean, I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but I personally did not see what happened at the Big House last Saturday. I did not see that one coming like that.
Yeah, no, I think one thing I had pointed out is that of the two, Harbaugh was definitely the hotter seat for me, and I would be curious to know from the Franklin faithful. We had a lot chirping at us about Franklin deserves the benefit of the doubt, and this I'd like to know when that flips. As far as how many losses in a season where you were ranked as high as you were, are you still saying, well, he deserves the benefit of the doubt, and it's not his fault, and 3 players didn't show up, and like whatever. But that's a whole nother conversation for another time. As far as Michigan goes, I would agree. As far as going to the end of the season, I think if you have any hopes of maybe surprising an Ohio State, I think keeping the regime the way it is your best shot at that. I don't think it's a very realistic shot from what I've seen on the field. I think it's a Michigan team, and it's not just the teams they're losing to. Like you said, I mean, this is a team that, with the exception of that game, their one win, they've looked flat. I mean, it hasn't looked. It's not like they're losing in shootouts or even the opposite, winning like an old Auburn defensive 6-3 game. Like that would be more exciting. This is a team that when the time's being called upon them to go out and at least hang up something respectable on the board, they can't seem to do it. And it's still a big offensive line, and you do still have some talent there. And I would agree. I think the only way you really change the guard in mid-season is if you kind of want to do a partial job interview there, like Matt was alluding to. Maybe you have a coordinator or something. But I don't. I mean, at this point, I'm not even sure that hanging one on Ohio State is necessarily going to save him at this point, unless you have more wins. You would have to. I don't know. I don't really know what scenario. You could finish and go to a bowl and have beaten Ohio State. Maybe have like a lucky hard draw in a bowl game and win that one too. But I don't know, unless he finds some like freshman or sophomore player that he recruited and decides to hand the offense over to that player, or get a new running back in, or somebody to light a spark, and decides like, hey, if he can convince them that that's my guy, and somehow it turns into like several straight wins, maybe he can hang it on that. But I don't see a lot of scenarios where he's still around. And, I think if nobody really big name is there available, I think they do still promote from within just to kind of wait around for that name to arrive. Yeah,
I mean, the next 3 before Ohio State is Rutgers, Penn State, and Maryland. Theoretically, those are all winnable games. I mean, I know
you said winnable. Like, I think in a regular season, you would say those are wins.
Right.
Like you would just check them off. Now it's like they're winnable.
I mean, Rutgers beat the Michigan State team that beat them. Maryland drubbed Penn State. Like it's
right.
And this year in general, I feel like we're all not just in college football, but the NFL having a hard time figuring out who teams are week to week. Now,
it's a wreck.
Certain ones, Alabama so far, Notre Dame, knock on wood. Clemson. There's teams near the top that I think are fairly consistent, but when you look over the rest of the top 25, once you get out of the top 5, maybe 6 teams, I think everything's kind of a crapshoot week to week. But those are games that you should win, and theoretically, if you can come in at what would that be, 4-2, going in or 4-3 going into the Ohio State game. I mean, if Michigan's bowl eligible, which I guess would be 500, I mean, they're going to go to a bowl game. They're still a valuable brand. Well, like looking at some of the stats from this past weekend, I mean, Joe Milton, 9 of 19 for 98 yards, 2 picks. Caden McNamara, they brought in, went 4 for 7, 74 and a touchdown. To me, that's your starting quarterback this coming weekend against Rutgers. The offense did look better. The problem is you were down 28 nothing by the time your offense even really started to put anything that resembled any decent play out there. But it's something we've kind of watched all year. We'll continue to kind of watch it as the next couple of weeks play out. But like personally, I would be very surprised to see Jim Harbaugh back at Michigan next year. I'll give it like 15% chance sitting here right now. Sean, how about you?
You asked me to name a
percentage.
11. Slightly better than 10.
I feel like I need to find that sound drop with the Bears fans screaming 11.
11.
Just in case the number 11 ever comes up. And Matt, what's your percentage odds that Jim Harbaugh is back in Michigan next year?
Do you have the 0.0 soundbite?
This guy.
0.0.
Yeah, no chance.
No chance. All right. Let's get to the college football pick'ems for this week. I found 5 games. Obviously, as we've seen over the past couple of weeks, I think each of the last 2 or 3 weeks, one of our games has ended up getting COVID postponed. So that's why I add I'm trying to find a 5th college game each week, just in case one of them falls by the wayside. Sean, looking at our results from last week, each of us went 2-2 in college football, bringing me to 19-14 overall. You are 25-8 overall on the college football season. Which I mean sounds really good, but you started, I think, the first 3 weeks you were undefeated. So
yeah, I've been fumbling a bit. 2 straight 500 weeks. So we gotta get the ball moving. I'm feeling pretty confident this week. Got some good juju coming my way. I feel it.
All right, very good. We are going to start, and this is the big one. This is the big one that we even alluded to a little bit last week. Number 9, Indiana. They are 4-0. They travel to number 3, Ohio State, who's 3-0. They are a 21.5 point home favorite. 64.5 is the over/under. This one at noon on Fox. I don't know if Indiana is good enough to win this game. I don't know just how good Indiana is. I mean, I think we're fairly confident that Ohio State's a pretty damn good football team. Indiana looks like a pretty damn good football team. So for me, I'm gonna put it this way. I'm definitely taking the over because I think these are 2 fairly dynamic offenses. Ohio State probably more so, obviously. But there is, in my mind, there is no way that Ohio State is covering 21.5 on this Indiana team. Maybe I'm buying in too much. So I'm taking Indiana to cover the 21.5. I still think Ohio State wins this game, but I am absolutely taking Indiana to cover 21.5. And you
better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
They're going to cover. I don't know if they're going to win. But Matt, we'll go to you. Indiana, Ohio State.
So, like we alluded to earlier, the Big Ten has so many fewer games than everyone else. So I think they really have to kind of make a statement win here. Ohio State does, and I think they do. So I'm taking Ohio State minus the 21.5. And I will take the under as well. I think it's just going to be an absolute drubbing. And I think that Ohio State makes their statement for why they should be in the college football playoff, even though they'll only have 8 games at the end of the year.
All right, there you go. And Sean, what do you got? Indiana at Ohio State.
Well, yeah, and I think a few weeks ago I pointed out that with Indiana's schedule, the way it lines up, they do have this. They do still have to play Wisconsin. But if you can survive those 2 games, I made the argument that, from a track record standpoint, the teams that you've beat, Indiana, in my opinion, if you get through these 4 games, if Ohio State stood a legitimate chance at being there just for being Ohio State, then Indiana would essentially be in the playoff. So they're going to have that as a motivator. I think that it has proven to be not a fluke. But this is by far going to be the best double-sided talent they're going to see. And I'm with Matt on this. I think as far as, if there's any question as to whether an 8-game schedule belongs in the top 4, you're going to need to win against teams that are ranked, and you're going to need to do it handedly. And for that reason, I see Ohio State pulling no punches at any point. I think Ohio State covers that 21.5. I'm not going to say easily. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. I think you could see Ohio State well into 2/3 of that over-under mark on their own. I do think Indiana is a dynamic team. So I do see them scoring some. I think they're going to, try some trickery and stuff and maybe get their points early before they're completely kind of just starting to hang their heads a little bit. But I think it's going to push over. I don't think by a lot, though. I think Ohio State's going to come out. Ohio State's going to, you might see this right around the 30-point mark and really make a statement game here in the Big Ten.
All right, then we go to the AAC, number 7, Cincinnati, 7-0. They're a 4.5-point road favorite at UCF. Seems weird to see them outside of the top 25, but they are 5-2. 62.5 is your over-under on this one, 3:30 Eastern time on ESPN. I think Cincinnati is one of the teams I had in this conference coming out of this conference in their title game. And they are handling everything up to this point as business as usual. I like Cincinnati to keep the ball rolling. I think they're going to cover that 4.5. I think they're going to win fairly easily here. I'm not trying to just throw shade at UCF because they make up fake championships or whatever. But I just this isn't their year. I think that they've finally faced some struggles that they're not used to being in that position. I'm going to take the under though. I just something makes me feel like these two teams aren't going to score as typically as we're used to seeing teams in that conference. So Cincinnati to cover and the under in this game. And we'll go to you again, Matt.
You hate to see the fall from grace that UCF had here, from national championships to not ranked. So I think I'm just on a roll today. I think Cincinnati wins and covers, but I do think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I don't know a ton about the defenses, but I know that neither is necessarily known for being a defensive stalwart. So points will be put up, but at the end, Cincinnati will cover, and I think they'll cover handily.
All right, Sean, how about you?
All right, just to clear up the defensive question for Cincinnati, most points they've given up this year, 20. In an opening round game to Appalachian State. Rest were 10-7, 13, 10, 10, 17. And the lowest amount they've scored was a 24 in a 24-10 win of Army, where they probably had the ball 5 times. So this is a team with a really high-powered smoking offense and a really good defense. And when you break down UCF's schedule, it's really a tale of 2 UCF teams. They have 2 close losses to 2 good teams. They had a loss to Tulsa, who Cincinnati has not had to play. That game was postponed. And the difference the one you kind of do the comparison on, they lost 50-49 in a defensive struggle at Memphis. And they the coinciding game with Cincinnati against Memphis was a close one, 49-10. So you take Memphis, who arguably, I think Memphis was actually my pick coming out of this conference. And kind of one of those teams I thought might be one of those wild card challenge, because at that time there was no Big Ten playing. There was no, so I was like, maybe they challenge for a playoff spot. No one from this conference is going to. But I think UCF, since those 2 losses, they've really started to drudge some opponents again and really start smacking some teams around. So I think they're going to put up a fight. Spread's too close though. For me to think that there's any real cover risk here. I think Cincinnati's safe to carry this one home. I'm too going to take the over though. I really wanted to take UCF here and take the bold pick, but I started picking against you on purpose a couple of weeks ago and it started costing me some games. So we're going to just try to really take a handle on the season, but we'll do it the old fashioned way, 1 game at a time, and Cincinnati in the over.
Hey, by all means, you can continue that strategy, Sean. Feel free. Then we go back to the Big Ten. Number 10, Wisconsin. Again, they showed no signs of rust after a few weeks off. They are 2-0, 7-point road favorite at number 19, Northwestern, who is currently leading that division at 4-0. 45.5 is your over-under, 3:30 on ABC. Look, I think seeing Northwestern back near the top of the Big Ten standings is somewhat refreshing and nice for a vintage college football fan. But there is nothing that they have shown me so far that tells me that they are going to compete with and or defeat this Wisconsin team. The 2 showings that Wisconsin has had, they have just looked absolutely dominant. Now, granted, one of them was Illinois, but I'm gonna roll with the Badgers here. I think they're going to cover the 7. They're going to win this one fairly easily. I think they're also aware that for them to make the college football playoff, especially with losing 2 games, they are going to absolutely have to house every team that they play. So they're going to do that here. Obviously, I'm going to take the over. So, yeah, Wisconsin plus in the over. Sean, we'll kick it to you first.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of that question last week of what Wisconsin product are you going to see? Is it going to be anything close to what we're used to seeing? And look, business as usual. I don't know. Somewhere around 14 different running backs touched the ball in that game, and every one of them looked like an NFL starter. Whether that's a statement to them or Michigan, I'm not real sure. But whether Michigan's ranked or not, to come back after not playing for 2 weeks, go into the Big House, make that kind of statement, says, hey, we're here to play. As for the playoff, if Wisconsin's in that playoff, undefeated or not, I don't see I don't see the games in their schedule that are going to say anything. Maybe with the Big Ten title win and some losses above them, but with 6 games, 7 games, I would be shocked if you saw them there.
I mean, yeah, I would think they would need a little.
They're going to need a lot of help up top, a lot of teams exchanging losses, but I think this is one where a 7-point spread, and maybe this is Vegas coming to get me. But that, to me, I mean, Northwestern has not been blowing teams out. They have not taken control of any game, really. It's been kind of nail biters all season long. And I don't think this one's going to be. This might be their first game that's not a nail biter. Unfortunately, it's not going to be to their favor. I like Wisconsin. They're going to steamroll. They're going to roll well past the 7 points, maybe 21, 28-point win here. I think it's a real statement game in that half of the Big Ten. I will also take the over, and this one you can lock up.
Whoa.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
All right, Matt, we'll go to you.
So I'm still not over the Notre Dame loss to Northwestern years ago, and I'm still not over Mike Golick for betting on it. And then, 2 years later, betting on the Miami game where we got trounced. So I'm glad Mike Golick's not betting on Notre Dame anymore. But that still resonates with me. So I'm going to take Wisconsin and big. It's fine to have Northwestern up high, but I mean it's just kind of like the Big Ten is so weird this year that to see them ranked is just kind of like is this truly deserving, or are they just kind of there because not a lot of teams are doing well this time around? So
I think it's just we'll put them in the 20 range. That way, if they lose, we can just throw them back in the trash can. You keep them just close enough, you can just pitch them. But if they win, it's like, see, we told you they were good.
Yeah, see, they're ranked. Otherwise,
up the newspaper and
get out.
No,
you don't belong here.
So yeah, I mean, I like watching good Big Ten football games. I don't think this will be one of them, but so Wisconsin big. What was the spread over under?
45.5.
I will go under on that.
You don't even go here.
All right, then we go to the Big 12. Number 14, Oklahoma State, 5-1. They are at number 18, Oklahoma, who's 5-2, 7.5-point home favorite. 58.5 is your over/under. This one, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Oklahoma looked really bad to start the year. They look like they're starting to play what we know as Oklahoma football again. Oklahoma State, I feel like every year they start off 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, and then they forget that they're not like one of the top teams in the Big 12, and they just start to fall apart. So I think that it's a lethal combination.
It's also what Texas does.
That is also what Texas does. Absolutely. So I'm going to go with the Sooners to continue to roll here. I think they're going to cover the 7.5, and obviously it's the Big 12. Regardless of what the number is, for me, it's always the over. Matt, we'll go to you.
Yeah, the over/under could be 126. I'm taking the over. But yeah, I mean, Oklahoma's turning around. I still think they're ranked too high after the 2 losses that early. But it's the Big 12, and I guess they need some representative towards the top, and Lord knows it's not going to be Texas. So why not Oklahoma again? So I think I don't think we'll see any defense at all. I think we might see maybe a punt in this game. I would
maybe a fake punt.
I would set the over under on punts at maybe 2.
2. I take the under.
Yeah. But good old JR is gonna have a good day, and Boomer Sooner will prevail.
There will. Sean, how about you?
Well, I'm gonna bet on whatever team's from Oklahoma. Which one's from? Anyway, yeah, I think when you're following the track records here, Oklahoma State was on a pretty good tear, and I still think they have an offense that is real good. Unfortunately, it decided to sputter. I think the loss to Texas kind of knocked them off their rails a little bit, and I don't think. I mean, I don't know how you don't see it coming. I think if you're a player, you're like, are we really still winning? Okay, let's keep going. I do find Vegas spreads funny because this game opened at like 9.5, and it shrank a little bit to like a touchdown, and I'm like, does that mean people are betting on Oklahoma State? Is there something I should know? And then I realize it's probably just because in the Big 12, it's usually whoever has the ball last. So a 10-point spread is like, no one's going to win by 2 scores.
Right, exactly.
Like 2 scores. That means somebody had to stop someone.
Right. I mean, there had to be a defensive series.
Somebody had to make a defensive play, and I didn't even know they started any. I thought it was too many men on the field. Turns out there was just an officiating crew in the defensive backfield. Having said that, I'm kind of with you guys. I think Oklahoma's found their stride. I think they're still looking for something to hang the hat on this year. You had the win against Texas. That helps a lot. I think, getting a chance to do what was done to you early in the season to another team trying to make their own push into a New Year's Day Bowl, especially a team from the same state, would say a lot for your program, maybe save some face for a coaching staff. I think Oklahoma, I'd say they win in a rout. In the Big 12, that's like 8 points. So we're in a rout in a real defensive struggle. And by defensive struggle, I mean the defenses will struggle. This should go over easily. If there's one thing I've learned, never bet the under in the Big 12. They just need to start. If you're Vegas, just start setting the over under at like 95, and just see if
anybody is gonna make a play on that.
Yeah, make a play. You got to find a higher number because they're still only putting them in like this is. I'm showing it at 60, so it couldn't have moved that much.
No.
What Big 12 game is like 30-30?
Yeah, and I mean, what was it? Wake Forest and North Carolina had nearly 100 points, especially this year. I mean,
I think this over under. It's not going to double 60, but it's gonna make you start questioning it right around the start of the fourth quarter. You're gonna be like, is this really going to be 120 total point? And it might.
Let's see. We got a comment. Did I miss hyping IU? Would never do this in any other year. Yeah. Look, man. I think we're giving them a chance. That's all we can do for this week. Is we can give Indiana a chance. I'm not going to say they're going to win. I gave them a shot. I said they were going to cover. I locked it up. I said they're going to cover 21.5. The other two here, they didn't want to give Indiana the benefit.
I like Indiana. I hope my pick is wrong. I hope they win straight up. But I like I said at the time, I don't see Ohio State pulling any punches. I think you're going to see trickery if it comes to it. They're going to exploit any matchups that they find in the middle of the game. They're going to hit them where it hurts a lot of times. Yeah, I saw Jake lock it up. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I think anybody wanting to bet a 7-point spread on the Buckeyes should feel pretty safe with their money.
Is game day this week covering that, or are they in Bedlam?
I think they're in Bedlam because I think since this game's on Fox, I think like the Fox Big Noon Kickoff show,
okay.
like their pregame show is at Ohio State this week. So yeah, and then we have one more college game.
You mean they're not at the Georgia Tech Miami game?
No.
Seems like a big one.
I was on their short.
Go
list
Yellow Jackets
of games. Yeah, exactly. Miami stinks. They're number 8, number 8, number 7, something like that. They're not a top 10 team.
Well, I'm showing them at 12.
12, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I knew they were.
So that's a little more realistic, but I think they still continue to crumble. But not much the Ramblin' Wreck are going to do to stop them.
No. All right, one more. Let's go to the Pac-12. Number 20 USC. They're 2-0, 2.5 point road favorite at Utah, who's actually playing their first game. They've had 2 cancellations already due to COVID. I think one with them and one with an opponent. 56.5 is your over under, 10:30 Eastern time on ESPN. This is a game. USC has not looked very good. Like, if there's one disappointment I have, and I think you guys can back me up on this one,
It's that they didn't lose.
It's that they didn't lose, but I'm also going to miss us kicking their freaking teeth in this year, because that's been kind of a fun thing over the past few matchups in that series after what happened to us in the early 2000s. So missing an opportunity to kick USC in the teeth is just another thing that 2020 has stolen from us. But USC has not been really that good here to start the season, and for that, I'm gonna take Utah in what I guess can be considered an upset to start the season. Beating USC at home, I'm definitely taking the over, because much like the Big 12, the Pac-12 does not play much defense. So Utah to win the game, pull the upset, and the over. Sean, will go to you.
Yeah, this is a tough one because it's the good news for Utah is that like you kind of alluded to there, USC really hasn't hit any kind of stride. It's they're winning games, but I mean they should have, they practically lost one and should have lost the other. And so it's just kind of one of these scenarios where, like, will the real USC please stand up, and nobody's standing up. So it's like kind of this thing. And then you got the question of Utah, who wasn't going to necessarily ever ever challenge Oregon, at least not from any expert standpoint for the Pac-12 title. But they were kind of in the mix, kind of right around the same odds to win it as USC was, kind of. And then the downside is you don't know what product is there either. I mean, everybody's been sick. This is a team that it's not like they were getting games canceled because of unfortunate opponents. Like, it was them. So I don't know. I think it's a close, the 3-point spread. I'm going to take Utah to at least cover, make it like, a 1-point game. I mean, I think it might be a 3-point spread. That's all USC seems to want to win by. So I'm fine with that. But I think Utah is going to be real excited to come out and play some football. And this team does have a lot of talent. They've been recruiting better than they ever have, at least in my lifetime. And I think just kind of that excitement to get to play and to get to open at home is real big. That's USC, even in the past few years, isn't a team that's traveled real well. And man, if they can't do anything in those first 2 games, I don't see them traveling real well. Give me the Utes. Give me the cover. I guess, what was the over under? We looking at 60-ish?
56.5 is what I had.
It shrank a little bit. I don't know. I don't think either. I think a team that hasn't played yet and a team that's failed to score, I'm going to take the under on that. It's very rare I do that in any game west of the Mississippi. But I'm going to go ahead and take the under just based on the status of these 2 teams coming into this game.
We can't forget, you can't spell sucks without USC.
It's true.
Thing sucks.
Matt, we go to you.
Yeah, you'll never hear me pick USC to win anything ever. So Utah is going to get the win here. And even without my bias, I think that, with the Pac-12 being the way it is and everyone kind of having a shot this year and Utah having the recruiting class that they do, I think it makes it a little more interesting. They'll be a little more fired up. And USC probably feels like they don't have much to play for because they probably know even if they go undefeated, they're not sniffing the playoffs. So who really cares this year? So I take Utah. And
all right, over. Gotcha. All right, that is going to do it for us for the college football picks, and we are going to pause here for our commercial break. Stick with us on the other side. We're going to talk a little bit about the NFL standings and predict the 4 biggest matchups in the National Football League this weekend. Huddle Up Live.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order? You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis on all things sports. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, subscribe to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports, and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop. Welcome back, Huddle Up live on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube, wherever you're following along with us. We appreciate that. If you are not with us live but are subscribed to our show, make sure you give it a rate and review if you're on Apple Podcasts. Otherwise, just subscribe to the feed, and we appreciate you, whether no matter how you choose to be a part of us. Head to our social media at Huddle Up Podcast on Facebook and Twitter, and at Huddle Up Pod on Instagram. You'll find the link tree, and that gives you everything you need to know relating to Huddle Up Podcast. We still have some merchandise. It is a limited sale that will close at the end of November for some merchandise. So if you have not made a purchase yet, go ahead and do that. That can be found at the top of the link tree at all of our social media. So make sure you do that. So before we get to our pick'ems for the week in the NFL, guys, this is something, and it's not just to kind of make myself feel better about the fact that I've said weeks ago that I thought the Tennessee Titans were a pretty fraudulent, undefeated team, and I think when they were 5-1, I thought they didn't look like a great team, and now all of a sudden they have fallen 6-3. They'd be out of the playoffs if the playoffs started today. But it kind of made me really come up to the question, because the Steelers, last undefeated team, they're 9-0, currently the leaders in the NFC. The Packers and the Saints are at 7-2. But really, guys, is there a great NFL team right now? And I don't necessarily know that there is. I mean, you look at the Bills that are leading the East. They've looked good, but they're also suspect at times. The Colts and Titans tied for the lead in the South. I don't think either of those teams is very good. Chiefs at 8-1. The Chiefs might be your best team in the NFL right now, but and not that there has to be a quote unquote great team every year, or as we get closer to the end of the season, teams might start to put it together. Obviously, a pretty strange year with no training camps and all of that sort of stuff. So, but Matt, we'll kick it to you first here. I look over the NFL standings and I'm like, I feel like there's good teams. There's definitely bad teams. But I don't think there's a great team in the NFL this year.
Yeah, the whole NFC East can be categorized as bad. But I wouldn't be.
I prefer misunderstood.
It stinks.
Misunderstood.
Flawed. I would say that if not the Chiefs, I think, even though it's easy to say the Steelers because they're undefeated, I think that their defense is catching up, because we always kind of knew that the Steelers had the offensive firepower. They always had Big Ben, who can throw it a mile, and they've always just drafted receivers who can just sprint down the field and catch the ball. And then Connor has just always been like a nice surprise, but the O-line's holding together. Ebron, I think, was a very smart, under the radar get for them. I think that kind of, Pittsburgh's always kind of known for having like the Heath Miller, Vance McDonald, like blocking physical tight ends, but now they actually have someone that can like be a playmaker, and they've drafted so well on the defensive side of the ball. And, trading their first round for Minkah Fitzpatrick in a year where everyone was like, what are you doing? This is a down season. But this is all just kind of built up to them having a pretty solid defense now too. They've always been known for D-line and linebackers, but now they have the secondary to go with it. So I think I would be hard pressed to say, do the Chiefs 100% beat the Steelers in a head-to-head matchup? I don't know. So if we're saying the Chiefs are great, then I think the Steelers have to be too.
All right, Sean, how about you?
Well, I think the Steelers definitely show flashes. I think they've had games where they even won by a score or two where, I felt that it didn't look great. And you're right, the defense has come along. The defensive front has been there for a few years, and the pass rush is there. And I think that the secondary has come along with them. I'm not sure we're seeing the same Ben we've always seen. I mean, obviously with the plethora of weapons he has, you're bound to put up some numbers. I don't think I've seen any games where I've, because even Chase Claypool scoring 4 touchdowns, it's not like anybody was praising Ben Roethlisberger for throwing 3 of them. I don't know that it's looked great. I feel their offensive line is a little more suspect than people give credit for. James Conner's kind of starting to fall off the planet, and I don't know if that's him or if it's the scenario. Maybe they're just trying to feed all the mouths, and he's just a smaller mouth than everybody else. But I would put the Steelers in kind of, despite their record, it's like you said, it's hard to discredit them from being great. I would put them in what I would say is a fairly small list of good to very good teams. Where you're going to have some of these division leaders that are sitting there, where it's maybe it's the Cardinals and the Seahawks in the NFC West. Maybe it's, teams like the Titans and or the Colts, whichever one of those decides they're the better of the good, very goods. And you have some other arguments as well. The other one to me that screams greatness, and it's a 2-loss team. But I think what's exciting about it is, for me, there's 2 teams hovering above everyone else. One is the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's because it's a train that, for all intents and purposes, even through some bumpy spots, really hasn't derailed at all. And whether the defense plays poorly and they have to outscore someone, or whether they get a good defensive effort and the offense just has to play it casual, Andy Reid's got control of that game plan. He knows what his players can do. He's got the personnel he wants, and it shows. And I think they're kind of your 1, and I'd say like the 1A or the 2 is probably for me the Green Bay Packers. I think they got surprised by the Buccaneers. I don't know if it was just game script, game plan didn't work, but it's a team that has a lot of plan Bs and Cs usually, and things just it wasn't a Devontae Adams list game. He led the team in receiving at like 60 or 70 yards. Aaron Jones had a score or 2. So the skill positions were there, but I think it was kind of fresh out of the Lazard weird injury. So you had to kind of find whether Scandling and I'm not going to blame it on that.
Lazard's set to come back here, I think this week or the following.
Yeah, so you're looking at a team that's been dismantling, teams offensively, they've been pretty hard to stop, and you're going to add a piece that at the beginning of the season was contributing quite a lot. So, I mean, it's kind of exciting for the NFL in that you're right now your 2 best teams are, kind of a chance to do that Super Bowl 1 rematch kind of thing. And I think that's exciting. Would have been cooler if it happened on the anniversary year. But, either way, anytime those 2 teams are relevant, I think it's great for the league. And then, from there, it's just kind of the tier of teams underneath. And there's a lot of them that on any given Sunday could beat either of those teams, and the Steelers are definitely one of those. But ironically, you're debating the strength or the value of the Ravens, who get to play the Titans, who you've been beaten up for 10 weeks. So I'm pretty excited to see if we're picking that game. I have no idea what games we're picking. It's all the fun. Nice. So I assume you'll be on the Lamar Jackson train this week. But yeah, I don't see a lot of other teams short of the Eagles to really challenge them for anything.
Yeah,
100%.
If I just sneak that. Yikes! Tough room.
Yeah,
tough room.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more okay and bad teams than there are really good teams right now. But I love the fact that the Cardinals are sitting atop the AFC or the NFC West right now. Like, if you're the Houston Texans, you're sitting at 2-7, and you're watching DeAndre Hopkins make the catch of the year on Sunday. Like as if you couldn't feel any dumber. You sit there and you watch that happen, and I can't I can't even imagine what
is there anything else the defensive backs could have done?
No, there was 3 of them there. Like
anything else, like looking at the play, could they have been in any better position whatsoever, other than surrounding him entirely?
I don't think so.
The guy behind him should have also been in front of him. Maybe that would have been the only fix.
Maybe
even then he would have just caught it over top of 3 people instead of 2.
I
That's
guess
baffling.
It was a ridiculous catch.
Did you guys see the meme where it was like, did you see 4 Bills lose in one picture instead of 3 defenders, and then Bill O'Brien was superimposed in as well?
Yes.
No, I did see the one where it was like happiness, joy, financial security, and then 2020.
Yeah.
So like the memes this year have been pretty good. Ryan asks, is this Fleet? I'm pretty sure this is Fleet. Yeah, sure. We'll call it that. As long as you're watching, you can call this whatever you want. Quite frankly. So we welcome anyone who is watching us live. And I thought I had the can't get any dumber drop from
just when you
dumber.
think you can't possibly get.
I swear to God, I thought I had
dumber.
it. I'm like looking over my entire soundboard and I can't find it. I thought I had put it on there. And
you're about as unorganized as the Houston second or the Buffalo secondary on that play.
Sure, absolutely. I will hit him with this though.
You're a loser.
That's to the Houston Texans. Man, that's a bummer.
Could you imagine, like you're sitting there with, and ironically, like David Johnson currently not playing, just in case anybody was wondering. So the trade you got when it looked like, because David Johnson was kind of shouldering a lot of the load for that offense after the trade, and it looked like, hey, maybe it's the same guy, and turns out it is, because he's probably going to miss his second straight week here this week while you watch the guy you traded away make plays like that.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. I still don't understand how
also may have saved Matt. I believe I was playing you in fantasy this week, and I had DeAndre Hopkins, and had that play not happened, the 3-point victory would have never been possible. So we'll take that. I didn't even see it happen. I just cashed in the 4:00 game. This is stupid. I'm not going to win anything. And then I was like, what? And I looked, but you had Stephon Diggs, who caught the touchdown before that. So it ended up being a wash.
Left Antoine Gibson on my bench too. So there was
but you put in. I mean, you replaced him with Chubb, who also cost you a touchdown stepping out at the 1. Smart football play.
I found it.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
There it was. I knew I'd find it.
But he still scored within 1 point of Gibson, so you did okay there. You survived.
I had.
You're still in first. First, you're still in first. You're fine.
Second. Yeah.
I needed it.
I had Hines on my bench, but I still managed to find a way.
Oh, you left Hines on your bench? Why don't you hit that button again?
Well, yeah, I'll hit
to hit the dumber button again.
You dumbass.
That works too.
Jim, don't you have the sound clip of you saying, "I'm an idiot"?
I'm an idiot.
Oh yeah, no, I have that one. That's me. I'm an idiot. There we go. that is actually me from an episode of 3 Count Thursday. I'm an idiot.
Good. I'm an idiot. That's true. It's on a broadcast that I'm going to have the audio for, which is going to come in very handy on Christmas cards and things.
I'm an idiot. I still have to go back, Sean, and get the one where you're like, I'm all in on the Cowboys or something like that. We were talking about Oklahoma State. I still have to go back and find that and isolate that audio.
Just in case. Yeah.
I haven't done it yet. Okay, let's go here, guys, to week 11 in the National Football League. See, I should have had the 11 drop, and it would have been apropos right there. But no, week 11, 4 games here, Sean. Last week I went 2-2 for 20 and 15 overall. You went 1-3 last week, so you are 22-13. You are only 2.
I got to make a push. We got to get both these right. We got to pump them up. Let's do this.
Bye weeks this week in the NFL: Bills, Bears, Giants, and 49ers are your buys. I found this kind of odd,
and no one will notice.
No one knows. I kind of looked ahead, and there we go. Just breaking news just now. Alan Lazard activated from injured reserve. So he'll be back in the Packers
So
lineup.
if you had Marquez Valdez scandling on your bench for his enormous performance this week, that was your last chance, kids. Get him out of there.
This I thought was weird. Next week, the Thanksgiving week games, there are no bye weeks, but there are still bye weeks the following week 13. I find that to be a little bit strange.
Are they COVID pushbacks? Is that what it is?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it was the reshuffling from the COVID, the fallout from all of those postponed games. So, but yeah, let's get to the first of 4 games this week, and it is a battle. Seattle currently sitting number 3 in the NFC West. They have a chance to jump back up to number 1 when the 6-3 Cardinals travel to the 6-3 Seattle Seahawks, who are a 3-point home favorite. 58.5 is your number. This one is the Thursday night game this week, 8:20 on Fox. Usually we don't get good Thursday night games, but this week we get it. I like everything about what the Cardinals are doing right now. I think that team is having a lot of fun. All of a sudden it feels like Kyler Murray is what the Ravens wish Lamar Jackson actually was. And I think that offense is playing well. I think that defense, despite a few big plays here, I know that big Stephon Diggs touchdown, but I think the Cardinals are a team that's continuing to develop. I like them to win here. I think Seattle, I don't think they have the defense to stop the Cardinals in this game. So I like the Cardinals to cover, to win this game, and I'm going to take the over because I think it's going to be a lot of offense. Russell Wilson and that team has to bounce back from what they did last week. Sean, we'll go to you first on this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is like as far as a juicy, can't wait to sit down and watch a Thursday night matchup. This is about as good as it gets. I think a lot of that has to do with in the initial scheduling. Not a lot of folks saw Kyler and the boys doing what they're doing right now. They thought this was going to be one of those like, all right, well, let's get some of the West Coast teams in prime time. We'll get a chance to talk about how good Russell Wilson is. And if you're the NFL Network or whoever's getting to broadcast this game, the only downside for you is it's probably going to be Joe Buck and Troy Aikman is probably what you're going to have calling this thing. That's the only downside. The good news for viewers, good thing for viewers is this should be a fun one to watch. I think, we were talking about, the shootout in Oklahoma this weekend on Saturday. I think you're going to get a small preview of it here on Thursday in the NFL game. But you're right. I like everything Kyler Murray's doing, but people really started turning their heads when these two teams met a couple of weeks ago. And all the talk was Russell Wilson for MVP and like no one's going to come close. And, the trouble is when you drop a couple games, whether it's your quarterback's fault or not, all of a sudden people start to forget that quarterback plays. And I'm wondering if that's some of the issues that he's had over the course of his career getting votes. It's a shame because I think he's still going to be in one of those scenarios where he's the only thing really keeping that team afloat. And he's probably going to end up losing out to somebody else again. Maybe to Kyler Murray. It's very possible that Kyler Murray is in that discussion here by the end of the year, especially when you put all his stats together. Biggest fear for me, if you're Arizona, is the fact that your own running back, Kenyon Drake, is back in the mix. Just boring offensive viewers to death. That he turns the game from offensive to offensive is what he does. That was a back-to-back burn. That was real good. If I do toot my own horn a little bit there, I'll toot my own horn later. Anyway, we'll make the official call. The downside here is I don't like in tight divisions and teams that have two good teams like this. Like I love everything Arizona's doing, and I think Kyler Murray's kind of the next big thing. And I kind of had fallen in love with Kyler Murray last year when you could see flashes of it, when it wasn't already brilliant, and you're just watching it become refined and learn
at that point.
Yeah, and you're just watching the talent work in an offense that's trying to define itself, as opposed to Lamar Jackson, who got to just kind of wander in and get the which, by the way, that offensive coordinator in Baltimore was also responsible for the one-hit wonder Colin Kaepernick. Just throwing that out there. Same thing. Like, teams figure him out, and if you don't have a plan B, it can fade pretty fast. But man, this is a hard one. I think I'm going to take Seattle here, and the only reason I'm going to do it is because not only is it in Seattle, and it's a primetime game. I mean, the last one was primetime too. There's no element of surprise here. As far as how good of a team's going to show up from the desert. And the other thing is if Arizona wins this game, they are going to be in a very nice driver's seat in the West, holding the tiebreaker. And because of that, I like Russell Wilson to do anything in his power, even if the defense is reeling or failing. The defense for Seattle should slow up the running game and maybe keep Kyler Murray contained. The defensive front's still quite good. The hard part's going to be containing everybody once they're past the linebackers. And that's why I'm not super confident in the pick, but I think Seattle's going to find a way to win. Far as the over-under, looking at a high one, especially for the NFL. Holy smokes. What do you have it at?
58.5.
Yeah, I'm showing 57.5. Yeah, I guess I'm going to take the over because I don't see, even with Seattle winning, I don't see a scenario where Arizona's not scoring points. So Seattle's going to have to push it up to get there. And I like Seattle in the over.
All right, Matt, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely like the over. This isn't the Seattle of old where the defense kind of carried them to victory. This is a Seattle defense that has been just awful all year, giving up points to just anyone who wants to play them. Definitely want to take the over there. And I think just coming off of that emotional win like Arizona is, it's just going to be tough for them to match that. So I think they just might have put it all out there and then they'll just kind of fall a little flat here on Thursday. So I'll take Seattle on the over on this one.
All right, very good. Then we go to Sunday at 1 o'clock on CBS. Sean, this is the game that you thought we may be picking. Titans 6-3 at the 6-3 Ravens. Who are a 6.5 point home favorite. 49 is the over-under. I think the Ravens win this game, but I don't like either of these teams right now. I think Tennessee, I said it back when they were even still undefeated, that I thought, just the way that they were winning games and against the teams that they were doing it against, I didn't believe them as the undefeated team, and everybody's like, Titans are in first. They're keeping this thing going. They were a surprise team last year, and to get as deep into the playoffs as they did. And I think they had a hard time living up maybe to that expectation. But the Ravens, this is a team, in a couple fantasy leagues, luckily one of them was a free league. I had Lamar Jackson. I had Marquise Brown. I had a couple of the Ravens running backs. And I mean, Lamar Jackson still puts up points, but everybody else in that Ravens offense is irrelevant because it's the Lamar Jackson show, and it's on the ground. There's not a lot of great passing like that. That offense just is not developing in a way that I think that they would have hoped it would. So I'm actually I think the Ravens still win this game, but I'm actually going to take the Titans to cover the 6.5. I feel like that 6.5 is a really high number. Despite the Titans struggles, and maybe also because I have Ryan Tannehill in one of my fantasy leagues, so I need him to do well. So I'm going to take Titans to cover. I'm going to take the under, though. I think both of these offenses right now are really bad defensively. They're definitely stronger defensively on both sides, on both teams. So Titans to cover, Ravens win the game, and the under. We'll go to you, Matt.
Yeah, I don't see this being a high-scoring affair here. Neither of these teams are really kind of putting up the points, and that's kind of what happens when you have quarterbacks that can't really throw the ball. They just can kind of run it. So I definitely want to take the under on that. And you said it was what, 8.5?
6.5.
6.5. Okay. That makes me a little more comfortable with the Ravens then, because I feel like a one touchdown isn't unforeseeable. So I'll take the Ravens to cover in a low scoring affair, like a 21-14.
All right, Sean, how about you?
Jim, what would you have done if in week 1 I would have offered you a bet and I would have said when the Ravens and the Titans meet in week 11 that Ryan Tannehill and Lamar Jackson will be within 100 yards of each other in total yards from scrimmage?
I probably wouldn't have.
If I put my money on Tannehill, could you have turned down the bet?
Probably not.
Yeah, if I'd have given Lamar Jackson 100, I'll take Tannehill, but give me 100 yards.
I would have taken it.
Yeah, Absolutely, you would have taken it. Yeah, they're close. Like I was looking at the numbers, and Ryan Tannehill responsible for more touchdowns than Lamar Jackson. So very interesting there. But yeah, it's two teams that the wheels aren't really doing real well. I think the worst thing that could have happened for Tennessee is Baltimore's defense getting kind of embarrassed now. And it was a bad weather game. Typically that plays into a defense's hands. In that particular game, didn't really. Man, that was a boring game though. Holy smokes! For like trickery and play calling and all kind, it was an incredibly boring game. Falling asleep.
I needed that
Buffalo
though.
Wild Wings.
I won in 2 leagues this week because of that.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I did.
Thank you,
It'll do
Willie
that.
Snead, not Marquise Brown.
Yeah, there you go. Whose name you may hear a little bit later, Willie Snead. Let's see. We have to pick this one, huh? All right.
Yeah, this is one of the ones that I put on the board, so we have to pick this game.
All right, so a 6-point spread. You know what? I've been defending the Titans all year, and I've been like, this team is more real than people think they are. I'm not starting to doubt that, but I think it's just two teams that need to win. I think that 6-point spread is Vegas telling us to bet on the Titans like you just did, and I think it's I think they know something. I think it's going to be a little drier. I think it's going to be a little easier to move the ball. And I think that I trust the Ravens to not stop Derrick Henry, maybe contain him a little bit. It's been done a couple times this year. He's a guy that runs for like 2,000 yards, but 1,000 of it comes in 3 games. And so it's just kind of consistent, steady production and then a couple explosions. This isn't going to be the explosion game. I think it's going to be on the arm of Ryan Tannehill, and I think that gives the secondary of Baltimore a little bit of help. I'm going to trust them to cover that 6 points. And so I'm going to take the 6, and at the over-under, give me the under. I don't trust either offense.
So you said Titans and under, right?
I said Ravens and under. Ravens. Give me Lamar Jackson,
right,
because we just smacked him around. Yeah, I talked up the Titans to kind of tease a little bit. It's something we do in the industry. We tease and then we go the other way. Just take it away, pull the rug out. Like this game's gonna as far as ratings go, just pull the rug right out from under.
All right, then we go to 425 on Fox. The 7-2 Green Bay Packers. We were just talking about them at the 6-3 division leader Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are a 2.5-point home favorite in this one. 51.5 is your over under. Like I said, 425 Eastern time on Fox. I have no clue. I'm sorry. Like, I understand the Packers they struggled a little bit against the Jaguars this past week, and I know the Colts looked really good against a Titans team that had been in first place. But I'm sorry, the Colts should not be a favorite in a game. I don't care if it's at home. I don't know. I know a couple of teams, the Ravens, the Eagles, among them, who are no longer allowing fans at games anymore due to the rising COVID cases. I don't know where the Colts are at on this one, but there's no reason that the Colts should be a favorite against the Green Bay Packers. Are you out of your goddamn mind? I'm taking the Packers. I'm taking the Packers to not only cover the 2.5 to win this game. I'll take the under only because I don't know if the Colts are going to be able to score enough points to get this thing to the over. The Packers are going to put up some numbers, though. But Packers and the under, and I'm going to go ahead.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Like the Colts? Really? Sean, we'll go to you first.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't know what they fed the Indianapolis Colts or what they did on their bye week. But when I look at the schedule, I look at a team that, like, before the bye week, beat up on the Lions. Who cares? You know what I mean? And then, but man, they came out of their bye, and they did lose to the Ravens, but they won 41-21 against Detroit, 34-17 against Tennessee. So 2-1. I don't know what happened there in that Baltimore game, especially in the team that we just made fun of for a while. But you look at their whole schedule, and I'm still looking at it going, why is this team, like you said, favored to beat anybody? And the only fear I have is that Vegas knows something. maybe Lazard is a locker room cancer that we don't know about. He just comes in and just destroys everything, but I just told you that the Packers are 1 or 1A, 1A or 2 in the league. There's no reason they should lose to the Colts. I think the Colts are going to put up a showing. They do have a good defense. They're making a lot of plays on special teams, and that's kind of what's pushing a lot of these games to these spreads that are unbelievable. Is their special teams, and that's my man Frank Reich. I'll always love the man. We miss him in Philly for sure.
I bet you do.
But the inventiveness that he has, things are kind of creative, and there's only so creative you can be with Phillip Rivers at the helm because the guy moves like you and I move. So I'm not really sure what's eating the Colts or what's got them winning games, but maybe it still happens next week. Not going to happen this week. I'm going to take Green Bay to cover. I'm going to take the over. I'm going to take the over only because whatever that pep in the Colts step is going to put enough points on the board to push it over. So give me Packers and over.
All right, Matt, how about you?
I don't know why we're all so high on this Packers team that just struggled to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. So
it was like 25, 30-mile-an-hour winds.
It's the Jaguars.
It's the same weather that was in Cleveland, and Cleveland put up 10 points. So, those two teams found ways to do it. And they gave up a kick return touchdown, so that's kind of half garbage.
It's the Jaguars, though.
Am I making excuses? Yes. Am I defending a strong statement I made earlier? Yes.
That being said, why would you put money on Phillip Rivers ever, especially in a big game?
In a big game.
So I will take the Packers, all that shade thrown aside, just because I don't feel comfortable ever betting on Phillip Rivers. And I will take the over because it's in a dome, so they'll just be slinging it.
Remember the year that I picked? Was it last year when I picked the Bears and Chargers as my Super Bowl pick? I mean, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
There we go. Thank you.
There we go. Yeah, I'll hit the. Yeah, I'm an idiot. There's no other way to describe that. I said it and I felt confident at it before the season, and then by week 1.5, I was like, I made a terrible mistake. I mean, it's bad enough.
Life comes at you pretty hard,
Right. In hindsight, it's bad enough to pick one team that usually just, despite all hope and optimism, fails miserably. It's a very.
I don't think you. I want to know. I want to know what season that was that you really thought.
Was it last year or the year before? It was either last year or the year before.
In hindsight, in foresight, you should have been embarrassed.
Your Super Bowl quarterbacks were Mitch Trubisky and Phillip Rivers.
That was your matchup. If you're the NFL, try selling that. Now I kind of wish you'd have been right. I would like to know how the NFL sells that matchup.
Well, luckily, the Super Bowl kind of sells itself.
Do they count their kids and be like, well, based on kids alone, Phillip Rivers is going to win this? What do you – how do you even sell that?
Yeah, look, mistakes were made, man.
That would have been
you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
That would have been like Ravens Giants level of bad Super Bowls.
Yeah, it would have been
the Rumba.
It would have been not good. It would have been really not good. All right, one more game here, guys. The 6-3 Los Angeles Rams. I almost said St. Louis Rams because my brain is just.
You're like two. Yeah.
My brain's half worthless at this point. Okay. Just we'll leave it at that. At the 7-3 Buccaneers, who are a 3.5-point home favorite. 47.5 is the over/under. This one is the Monday night game, 8:15 Eastern time on ESPN. I don't know what these Buccaneers are. One week I'm like, all right, they're cruising. Tom's got this thing rolling. Receivers are good. Running backs good. Defense is good. And then they'll have a week when they played the Saints, and I'm just like, wait, who is this? Why is this happening? They kind of got back on track this week, so maybe I'm buying the hype a little bit. Tom and Tom's slinging the ball to Antonio Brown. He's finally found Mike Evans in the end zone. Gronkowski's caught a touchdown. Maybe I'm buying the hype for 1 week, but I got the Buccaneers. I think they're going to cover the 3.5. I'm going to go the over because I hope that Buccaneers offense does keep it rolling. So yeah, I'm going to go with Bucks and the over. Sean, we'll go to you.
Yeah, Buccaneers. put a real nice game together last week. Not going to lie to you. I still don't. I'm kind of with you. I don't know what to believe. Although I'll tell you what you can believe is everything I said about Antonio Brown, who's currently being investigated for an off-the-field incident. In case everybody missed that news, that's real. Got apparently threw a bicycle at a security guard's booth or something. What are you doing? I don't. And the one there's one host. Go.
Wait. Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber.
Yeah, if you were saving, if there was any reason for you to find that clip, it's this one. Yeah, and he smashed a security camera, not with the bike throw, separate incident involved in the same incident. It's one of those things where, and there's one host down here that I listen to that hates Antonio Brown, and he was and people were come on, it's being investigated, and he's if you're Antonio Brown, and I'm with the guy, he's I don't care if you were in line at a supermarket and the person in front of you was taking too long and you yelled, "Hurry the F up." You can't do anything, and that's too much for you. There's my man Jay Kuhn saying he gone.
Perfect.
Let me know about that camera.
Stupid idiot.
Just a stupid idiot. That's exactly what he is. So, I'll leave him aside. I mean, like you said, even if there's video evidence of some of this.
He's the third, at best, third option in that offense.
Well, when the other two are healthy, the reason they brought him in, I think the reason they brought him in was health questions. Evans has a history of injuries, as does now Chris Godwin. Of course, you have an aging Gronkowski who's had his own share of injuries, and an O.J. Howard that's dead. So, you're just running out of options. You can only ask Rojo to do so much, though apparently he'll run for 98 yards here and there.
Apparently.
I will say that I had a rough week last week, but I will remind you that I did lock up the Rams against the Seahawks, and I believe they did cover. That was one of my good ones.
The Giants over the Eagles. So if we're talking about last week,
yeah, congratulations. Short of us, with our blinders on, Eagles fans, the rest of the country was probably with you. Now, having said that, I like the Rams, and I still don't know why. There's still no. I don't like McVay. I have no reason to like Goff. I kind of like Robert Woods, sorta, but I think it's because I keep confusing him with James Woods, who now I don't like. So I'm not really sure what to think about anything anymore as far as the name Woods goes. I do still like Tiger Woods. Yes. Still a big Tiger Woods fan, despite his off-the-field incidents.
In case James Woods is listening.
All right, now I'm going in a Woods tangent. Let me just pick the game. I'm going to take the Buccaneers like you did, even though I like the Rams. I could see the Rams easily doing it this way. Over, under,
47.5.
Over.
All right.
I just had to go on Antonio Brown, man. That's all I really wanted to do there.
That's fine. Yeah, no, he's a schmuck. Matt.
Yeah, I think the only true status quo for the Buccaneers has kind of been their defense, and I don't know that the Rams necessarily have the offense to just kind of throw the ball over the field. I'm not a true believer in Goff. I know they have some very good receivers, but I don't think the running game, it's coming together, but I don't think it's quite there yet. So I don't think they have the ability to put the points up. And Tom just continues to defy all of my beliefs that his arm is eventually going to fall off in the middle of a game. So I will take the Buccaneers as well and the over.
All right. Very good. Unless anybody's got anything to add, then we are going to we're going to close this thing up. Sean, let people know.
Don't close it up. Well, I'll just add it.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm an idiot. What am I doing? What am I doing with myself? Let me get the sounder. I'm an idiot. Let's hit it.
He is an idiot. All right, we're going to hit it. We're going to jump things real quick to everyone's favorite segment, the fantasy irrelevant touchdown of the week. And this week in the NFL, no shortage of irrelevance. There was plenty of it. In fact, it was such an irrelevant week that Miami had someone named Salvin Ahmed lead the team in rushing, and a Durham Smythe or Smith score a touchdown, and neither one of them is in the top four. So this is going to be very exciting. Two backup running backs for the Philadelphia Eagles scored touchdowns, also not in the top four. And a Dante Foreman bringing his season stats to 1 catch for 5 yards and a touchdown. Still not in the top 4. Who's in it? You're about to find out. With honorable mention this week, Alex Collins of the Seattle Seahawks, fantasy zombie, coming back to life, the former Baltimore Raven. They probably wish they still had him because Mark Ingram's still their leading rusher. Baffling. Anyway, honorable mention to Alex Collins. 3rd place, the man who saved James's fantasy week this week, the Baltimore Ravens, another fantasy zombie, Willie Snead with 2 touchdowns this week. 2nd place with his first career NFL touchdown, Colin Thompson of the Carolina Panthers.
Who?
I almost just wanted you to play crickets on that one. I just felt like that would have been dope.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
just build it up, and I was like, and you're saying who could possibly top a first career touchdown that no one could have even seen coming? And I'll tell you who. Bash Phillip Rivers all you want. Nobody saw him pulling him on the 2-yard line. Jacoby Brissett making his first snap of the NFL season with a 2-yard touchdown run on Thursday Night Football is your fantasy irrelevant touchdown of the week.
Who the hell is it?
We really got to get a theme song or a jingle because I always pitch like there's one coming and there's really
Right,
nothing there.
Yeah, we got to do something.
It's just like a brrr. It's like, we'll get something by week 16. We'll come up with something.
I know a guy. We'll try and get something here. But congratulations, Jacoby Brissett. You are the fantasy relevant touchdown of the week. Sean, let people know where they can follow you on Twitter to get maybe some of your hints at who it could be.
Yeah, we try to get some hints. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's more, but you can find them at my Twitter, at Sean Shine State. It's SHAWN Shine State, right here from the Bay Area in Tampa Bay. And we're looking forward to a great week in sports. Masters are behind us. More sports are behind us. The only thing to look forward to is that brilliant Ravens-Titans game. I can't wait. You can watch it with me on my Twitter.
Matt, where can people follow you at?
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter. It's at 3CT, the letter A, Philly as in Philadelphia, the number 8. Tomorrow I will be taking a break from just trashing Donald Trump on my Twitter to be live tweeting during the NBA draft, which, in case you forgot, is tomorrow.
Don't be rude.
Okay, very good. Yeah, NBA draft tomorrow night. Congratulations, Dustin Johnson, on your Masters win. Tiger disappointed us all in the chance at a defense. But you can follow me at Big Jim Sports. Make sure you're following along with the show. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just go to any of our social media, hit the link tree, and you can catch us there. Make sure you also follow our home network, NGSC Sports, at ngscsports.com. Until next week, stay safe, stay smart, wear your mask, and go for the win. Huddle Up Podcast is sponsored by Arena Eats. Log on to the website arenaeats.app, that's arenaeats.app, for the ultimate fan experience. At your favorite sports venue, Arena Eats mobile app, pre-order, express pickup, and in-seat delivery. How do you place your order?